I love party food, all kinds of party food. I'm definitely the person by the chips all night, and I have no shame. I especially love party food that my parents prepare. They're just such good little cooks. And this one food, it's always at every get together. It gets snatched up in an instant, and that is stuffed bread. I think a lot of people might consider it kind of like a stromboli, since it's just meat and cheese rolled up in bread dough, but we just call it stuffed bread because that's what it is. It doesn't need a fancy name. This recipe is also very nice because I'm not making bread dough. My mom always makes it with frozen bread dough. It's just great. Thawed it in the fridge overnight in like a plastic bag with some olive oil, and we're good to go. So easy, done. And that's all. It's just bread dough. I'm using Genoa salami and provolone cheese. That's it. That's all that goes in stuffed bread. The Genoa just gives it that perfect taste with the provolone, and I don't even like provolone cheese. It's too much for me. It tastes like a foot. Not that I know what a foot tastes like, but you know what I mean? I am preheating my oven to 350 Fahrenheit. So that's what we're gonna make today, a stuffed bread. I have got my little frozen dough here, and I'm going to try to make it as much of a rectangle as I can. So I'm not gonna roll it out too much into circle-like motions, but I'm just going to roll it into a rectangle. Just make sure it doesn't stick. If it's good and oiled up, it shouldn't stick to your counter. I'm not going to be using any flour. It doesn't have to be perfect because nothing ever is, but I want to get it so it's like that. I've got this rolled out to about a foot in length and maybe 6 or 7 inches in height. It doesn't have to be too crazy tall because we're going to be layering and then folding and kind of pulling. For one loaf of bread, I like to put 6 pieces of salami and 5 pieces of the cheese. Get them each sliced very, very thin because there's going to be kind of a lot in here. I'm trying to get 3 layers in here, but if I can only do 2, I'm not going to push it. But now we can start. First one, I'm just going to kind of, oven's ready. I'm just gonna kind of roughly give it a roll until about halfway there, so you can still kind of see the little things just peeking out. And then I'm gonna start my second layer. Here, I'm gonna kind of just tuck it in that little crease right there while I fold. Now I'm gonna pull these ends out just a little bit so it's a little thinner, so I have some room here. Now I'm gonna start my last layer. All right, now this is my last layer. So I'm going to make sure I'm pulling it kind of when I roll, and also just making sure I pinch these closed. And just bring up these little ends here, tuck them in. You make sure this is nice and closed. This does have a tendency to burst a little bit, but those are always the best parts. That's when the cheese gets crunchy and oh, it's just so good. So there we have it, our little log of deliciousness. And there you go. The seam side will go down, give it a little shape. I'm gonna get my pan ready. Just got a sheet pan here, just put some parchment paper down, laid it on into there, fit it however nicely you can. Make sure those ends are really good and tucked up under there and closed. Usually we get some blowout on the sides or maybe the ends, but it's all good. I'm going to put this into my preheated oven. My mom told me to check it like 25 minutes, just to give it a little tap, make sure it sounds hollow, that it's done. She doesn't spray it. She doesn't really put any oil on it, no salt or pepper. It's just bread. When it comes out, I'm gonna slather it with some butter. We've had some casualties. I knew it was gonna burst, but it's all good. It sounds hollow, we're good. It usually always kind of bursts. It's fine. Even though it's looking like a busted can of biscuits right now, we still love it. This is a common look for this house, the biscuit look, so we're gonna go with it. But, what? 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 Fresh out of the oven, I got a stick of butter here. I'm just gonna give it a nice little slathering. As this cools, it might deflate a little bit, but that's all good. Some kosher salt on there. Now that the butter is there, it's gonna stick. I'm just gonna wait for this to cool, then I'm gonna cut it up. It's been cooling for a few minutes. I don't wanna make it cool too much because I really wanna have some of this while it's hot. There we go. Look at this beauty. Oof. It all came out. The whole side just bust. But I think that was from the seam. I probably didn't close it well enough, but it's all good. Whenever my mom makes this, we all hover around and try to eat. Oh my God. Ooh, it's still hot. But there you go. Look in there. That is so delicious. That's a stuffed bread. Whew, I gotta eat it. Question, what do you call the end of the bread? We call it the knuch, but like, I also call it delicious. The smell in here is unbelievable. These delicious little bready, cheesy, meaty sticks are just calling my name. Feed me. Okay. Don't have to ask me twice. It is unbelievable. Wow. This would be so good with some warm marinara sauce, but even if you don't have that, it is so good. Let this cool a little more. Slice it up into slices like this. Put it out in a bread basket or something. It will go in 2 seconds flat. She always makes a bunch of these and they disappear. You've got to try. Enjoy.